Never pretty, scarcely ever charming or even attractive, rarely correct in drawing, and seldom satisfactory in color. In types, ill favored, in feeling acutely intense and even dolorous. What is it then that makes Sandro Botticelli so irresistible that nowadays we may have no alternative but to worship or abhor him? The secret is that in European painting, there has never again been an artist so indifferent to representation and so intent upon presentation. Educated in a period of triumphant naturalism, he plunged at first into mere representation with almost self obliterating earnestness, the pupil of Fra Filippo, and he was trained to a love of spiritual genre. Himself gifted with strong instincts for the significant, he was able to create such a type of the thinker as in his fresco of St. Augustine, yet his best years he left everything, even spiritual significance, behind him, and abandoned himself to the presentation of those qualities alone which in a picture are directly life communicating and life enhancing. Those of us who care for nothing in the work of art but what it represents are either powerfully attracted or repelled by his unhackneyed types and quivering feeling. But if we are such as have an imagination of touch and of movement that is easy to stimulate, we feel a pleasure in Botticelli that few, if any, other artists can give us. Long after we have exhausted both the intense sympathies and the most violent antipathies with which the representative elements in his pictures may have inspired us, we are only on the verge of fully appreciating his real genius. This, in its happiest moments, is an unparalleled power of perfectly combining values of touch with values of movement. Look, for instance, at Botticelli's Venus Rising from the Sea. Throughout, the tactile imagination is roused to a keen activity, by itself almost as life heightening as music. But the power of music is even surpassed where, as in the goddess's mane like tresses of hair fluttering to the wind, not in disorderly rout, but in masses yielding only after resistance, the movement is directly life communicating. The entire picture presents us with the quintessence of all that is pleasurable to our imagination of touch and movement. How we revel in the force and freshness of the wind, in the life of the wave. And such an appeal he always makes. His subject may be fanciful, as in the realms of Venus, the spring, religious, as in the Sixtine Chapel frescoes or in the coronation of the Virgin, political, as in the recently discovered Palace taming a centaur, or even crudely allegorical, as in the Louvre frescoes. No matter how unpropitious, how abstract the idea, the vivid appeal to our tactile sense, the life communicating movement is always there. Indeed, at times it seems that the less artistic the theme, the more artistic the fulfillment, the painter being impelled to give us the utmost values of touch and movement to just those figures which are liable to be read off as mere empty symbols. Thus, on the figure representing political disorder, the centaur in the palace, Botticelli has lavished his most intimate gifts. He constructs the torso and flanks in such a way that every line, every indentation, every boss appeals so vividly to the sense of touch that our fingers feel as if they had everywhere been in contact with his body, while his face gives, to a still heightened degree, this convincing sense of reality, every line functioning perfectly for the osseous structure of his brow, nose, and cheeks. As to the hair, imagine shapes having the supreme life of line you may see in the contours of licking flames, and yet possessed of all the plasticity of something which caresses the hand that models it to its own desires.